Testing. Alright, 6-bolt generator and housing frame with be careful to start with the dowel with the end housing of the frame first. Place the fish paper strips of 1/16 within 3 by 36 of the air gap between the armature field bolted and on playing fish paper. Other material air gap between the alternator rotor and stator. Remove the wire cable loops after the fish paper has been applied. Bolt the starting field connector buster with the starting bus. Bolt with the generator negative bus. Bolt with the generator negative bolt. Bolt with the bush holder negative bus to the bus, which ties the compensating differential field connections after the bolt connection. Tight. Insulate with 3 layers of the Empire tape, 2 layers of the friction tape. Paint with 1 coat with the black air dry and varnish. No, all bus bars connections are to be cleaned before bolting. 9. Assemble the communicator end cover the bolt in place. Apply with the cleats and strap with the generator bus connections. Insulate the bus bar from the cleats with the straps with the red fiber insulation. 10. Apply with the compressor with the coupling guard with the assembly of the bolt and plate with the connecting collector ring brush hole with the cable of the terminal block on the guard assembly. Caution, connect the cable leaves the rim of the brush hole with the same polarity together with the same terminal pros of the otherwise rotor field will be short circuited and a direct short circuit placed on the auxiliary generator. High potential test, and I refer to the maintenance manual fit 2100 generator locomotive before the high potential test, or maybe the highly desirable to check the first of the megaometer reading less than 3 megaohms should be reviewed with a sufficient individual circuit that you check with a fine location low with the resistance accumulation with the dirt and moisture, sometimes sufficient to cover the leakage. High potential apply with the low cause for the actual breaking of the insulation. Usually may be aggraved by a sudden temperature change of the dust and equipment that has allowed to stand outside of the during cold weather long enough being brought inside of the warm building equipment will tend to sweat and condense, and moisture will aid the leakage effect. Normal voltage EMD main generator traction motor 600 volt. Therefore, the minimum test voltage should be motor generator 900 volt. High voltage wiring, high voltage equipment to 1050 volts. In making the high potential test, following precautions should be taken. High potential test must be made with the placing the electrodes on the circuit under the test of the under before closing switch, opening switch before removing the electrode. Danish opener voltage surges may result in the making and breaking of the high voltage circuit with the electrodes. It is almost important so that the reliable high potential testers to ensure that adequate testing is made, but also ensure the overstressing and insulating during the take of the place in regard with the features which should incorporated in the high potential tester of the following points are as permanent waveform surges, voltage regulation. 3. In making high potential tests, extreme care should be taken to see that every person in the clear before applying the voltage. 4. While testing EMD armature with an individually strapped around with a communicator with a bare wire before applying the high potential test, shifting generator and alternator. It's absolutely necessary for the armature blocked on the stud shaft with the mixture placed in the alternator rotor spiral to relieve the weight on the field pole with the field fiber pieces. Should be inserted with the air gap of the traction generator over the prevent damage of the during the shipment. Each generator should be electromagnetic division. Shipped from the electrical motive division. It has a skid and supporting jack of the generator. Shipped back to the electric motive should be returned using the skid and jack. Compressor and couple of guards should be removed. The outgoing generator reassembled with the incoming generator as generator shipped complete less than coupling guard assembly. Drawing number 810746 may had on request as aided in shipping generator. Installation of the main generator and alternator locomotive units. Installation of main generator alternator similar with the removal of the installation that requires more time and care and skill. Before main generator is installed, if it is a new generator or an original generator, check and clean with the mounting plate to be sure that the plates are smooth and free of the burrs and high spots. Before lifting the generator into the unit, check with the clean with the mounting pad with the locomotive bed frame. Be sure that these pads are clean and free of the burrs. Check and fit the generator coupling disc and fit the engine timing right. Ring must be smooth and clean with little oil white leave. The fitting surface to check with the bolt holes and coupling should be clean and smooth. With turning the engine coupling disc is before bearing and jacking, so the large hole 7/8 of an inch hole remaining in the disc that are 3/4 of an inch will be aligned with a larger hole of the generator disc. Apply with a 2/3/16 of an inch socket wrench. Engine generator coupling nut to make sure that they are tight. All 1 1/2 inch for 12 coupling bolt nuts must be tightened to with a torque value of 1,400 1,600 foot-pounds. Inspect the clean shim. The shims must be smooth with the free with the burr with the kinks and should have tagged and after removal of the generator so that they may be installed with the original position at time. Lift generator guide slowly, carefully with the engine room. Set the generator up to the close permissible with the engine coupling up to the 7/8 of an inch bolt hole with the bolt to the generator toward the engine. Install the 7/8 inch bolt first with make sure the bolt with the coupling diff with connected properly. Install with the 3/4 inch bolt with a 180 degrees 7/8 of an inch. Bolt coupling bolts must be checked to see that they are smooth and clean. Place a little oil white lead over the lead On the bolts, tighten the nuts, both of the nuts evenly with the making sure the generator disc is not cocked. Enter freely into the timing ring. Remove all finished paper on or fiber strips before the armature field cold before barring and jacking engine over. There should be no fish paper under the alternator field. Install the remainder 3/4 inch bolt with the coupling and tightening. Line up the dowel holes, install the base bolts with the do not apply with the dowels, and tighten the base bolts until the next perceived alignment of the generator with the engine is finished. Align generator and alternator with the engine and locomotive. Alignment of the generator's engine is divided into 3 operation thrust finding with the longitudinal position of the armature with respect of the frame of the alternator, generator, bearing, and housing. Angular with the neutralize with the angularity of the generator, engine, disc coupling, radial, balancing, setting with the air gap between the generator armature with the fuel poles. Operations number 2 and 3 are carried out simultaneously. Procedure for the aligning of the generator, bearing, and housing. After generators couple the engine, it is very important to locate the generator frame so that they have single with the bearing with the communicator located with the axle with such a way to avoid the thrust of load with either direction. The generator have the bearing flow with about 5/16 inch between the bearing cap and cover the bearing housing with the bearing float with the end plate with the champs on the bearing cover. The lubricating tube bearing of the generator housing must be placed in shown figure 18. Move the one oil pan handhold cover to take all the crankshaft thrust by prying against the crankshaft web and the crankcase. Move all of the crankcase shaft thrust over the generator end of the engine. That is located with the measurement of the number of the stamp of the 1/2 inch. Numbers of the top of the right horizontal rib end of the valve on the locomotive having greater type of the generator, compressor coupling, stamp of the number of the measurement of the inch of the top of the right with the spot surface, face surface, bearing of the cover order, surface of the male compressor, the coupling gear with the mount of the gear generator shaft. This is the measurement X in figure 18 is about 9 inches. When the armature bearing of the generator housing is flush with the inside of the bearing cap. On locomotives having the Falk type of the generator compressor coupling, this measurement is X is taken from the top right spot face surface of the outer bearing covered over the outer end of the surface of the compressor with the coupling adapter mounted with the generator shaft with about 7 5/32 of an inch. Measurement X of the generator have the coupling gear with the Falk with the coupler adapter. No couple of the compressor will then install with the locomotive is taken up with the top right spot face surface of the outer bearing with the cover to outer end of the surface of the alternator slip ring hub and is about 5/19/32 of an inch. Note the measurement stamp on the end of the bell determined during the final generator assembly with the armature perfectly positioned so that its end play is all taken up with the direction of the engine coupling. 3, depending on whether the coupling or type of the coupling either between the generator and the compressor, the make measurement is listed on paragraph under item 2. Move the generator frame in either direction away from the torque of the engine to obtain the measurement, which will be 1/16 of an inch plus 3/64 of an inch minus 1/64 of an inch greater than the figure stamped on the generator bell. Procedure for the engine and with the alternator alignment with the engine. The proper operation of the power plant required for the generator armature shaft, the generator frame be in line with the engine crankshaft, that the air of the gap be equally spaced, equally important eccentricity as the coupling be held with the minimum that directly affects the balance of the brush of the bearing hold wear. The air gap of the generator must be uniform with a plus or minus 10,000 of an inch for the average under each of the main pole, with 12 of each of the communicating pole. Also have the front and rear each of the pole with obtained proper electrical characteristics of the generator. Since generator has one roller bearing with the recommended method aligning with the air gap of the coupling at the engine end of the generator. And then show the bearing cover, bearing compressor coupling, note less than 3/16 inch, 1/16 plus 3/64 minus 1/64 inch bearing cap. Measurement X should be used with the line generator bearing explained with this test site with note 1/4 inch snap tape thread indicator for the check and alignment of the generator coupling alignment and this alternator road D12 of the generator. Alright, the aligned procedure is divided into 2 operations, both of which are carried out simultaneously with the neutralizing angular misalignment of the generator engine disc coupling balance of the setting with the air gap between the generator armature of the field poles by means of the 2 indicator with the rod with the screws in the taped 1/4 inch pipe threaded to hold the D14 alternator field spider with the measurement of the coupling misalignment of the generator air gap variation determine the both indicators resolve the arm shaft of the plunger. One indicator right to the outside of the machine diameter alternator aluminum housing the joint with the stator of winding guard connects to the housing on figure 10 or figure 18 while the engine turning the jack assembly with the wheel of the turn with the indicator rod with the vertical position with the will plate for the bolt indication near the top of the alternator. 3. After claim with the indicator with the rod with the plunger buttons with the indicator for the rear palm with the strip of the shown figure 18 with the setting with the indicator depressed with the plunger with the pointer makes one the complete revolution at 100,000 of an inch. Therefore, being 2,000 inch total revolving travel, the indicator with the pointer they are still having 100,000 of an inch plus the left of the work within the plunger can back out of the show with a minus the reading of the total 1/1000 of an inch. With the indicator setting of the flywheel engine jack of the 1/2 revolution clockwise direction face mount communicator generator rotate flywheel 3/4 of a revolution counterclockwise direction. The reason of the counter clockwise rotation step of the clockwise rotation prevent the indicator strike with the alternator terminal board with the 3/4 clockwise position, returning the indicator strike with the point with the check of the registration indicator with the point but must return with a 0 with a note. If not, reset with the indicators made with another check. Place indicators defective. 5 from the fixed point resolve with the flywheel half revolution 180 degrees for the clockwise direction that would face the communicator into the generator record readings at 90 degrees 180 degrees points of the rotating in this direction. From 180 points of the revolve of the flywheel 3/4 of the revolution counterclockwise direction record with the indicator reading at this point with the return of the dial indicators between back to the original starting fixed point, but the indicator must register 0. Step of the generators consider the line with the readings obtained with the shown figure 19. Sense of the movement of the generator's frame and effect with the coupling of the air gap reading with the repeatedly both after each setting. The experience will indicate a proper shim thickness, bringing the readings within the limit specified. Full length shims should be used when possible, although above spot shims may be necessary to conform to the limits specified with the air gap of the coupling. After the installation of the new generator, upon completion, line up the engine run of the power plant from a short time before the locomotive is moved. This will allow the generator itself, so when the dials are installed, there will be no further running necessary. And show figure D12 and D14 generator alignment. Install generator to underframe the dials to lock the generator bolts with the lock plates. Air compressor driving alignment with the locomotive's gear type of the main generator coupling. 2 line. Valve looking the front of the base of the compressor gear assembly teeth. In order to avoid overcompression from the washer coupling with the accompanying with the overloading of the bearing with the air compressor for the compressor must be first located given the clearance dimension of 732 of an inch plus or minus 132 of an inch between pilot face of the compressor flange with the front face of the generator compressor coupling. Gear assembly end play with the compressor shaft need not to take in consideration when locating the compressor to be obtained with the 732 of an inch clearing normally with about 10,000 of an inch. Thousand of an inch end play with the compressor coil, the air compressor aligning tool with the number 8133046 holding dial indicator is fastened to one of the 3 1/2 inch standard thread bolt holes of the compressor coupling gear with the generator shaft extended horizontally through one of the 3 of the 2 inch diameter hole of the compressor flange. All the 2 dial indicator with the tool push button with the one indicator riding outer rim of the compressor flange. Check radial alignment button with the other indicator readings faces of the compressor flange. Show the tolerance of 7/3 inch plus or minus 132 of the inch compressor shaft, your generator shaft, and the air compressor for the generator alignment. Tour of the compressor for the check of the angular alignment of rotor generator shaft of the compressor together either by rotating each of the same amount, trying the 2 of the units together in some way, but the compressor alignment will not be sprung, but the 2 units can be tied together, loose fitting bolt through 1/2 inch hole of the compressor flange with the compressor ring gear. Radio run should not exceed 5,000 of the inch. Total indicator reading with the total running between the face of the generator and the face of the compressor and the flange should not exceed 10,000 of an inch. Before reassembling surfaces of the coupling gear teeth should be coated generously with the number with NLGI National Lubricating Grease Institute grease number 3. This is containing 13 to 15% sodium-based soap. For further lubrication should not be necessary until the disassemble the overhaul of the coupling with the normally noise of the built-in gear lash. The introduction lubricating under the high pressure is not approved, as lubricant will not eliminate the noise and doing so, therefore the danger of rupturing felt seals and allowing the lubricant to flow over the alternator slip rings and brushes. Maintenance data and generator complete. The 17,710 pounds. DC armature 6,246 pounds. AC rotor 1,400 pounds. Generator field is 7,130 pounds. AC stator 930 pounds. Normal air gap under main poles 15.1535 of an inch. Communicating pole 328 thousandths of an inch. Brushes, number of the brushes 5 set. Split size brushes 5 of the inch by 1 and 5/16 of an inch by 2 and 9/16 inch. Long side 5 of the inch made up of the 2 brushes with the 15/16 of an inch. Wear limit 1 and 9/16 of an inch. Long side grade. Plague Tech SA 3590 type split. Spring pressure low limit warm brush 3.5 pounds 4 to 4.5 pounds. Brush holder 12 number. Clearance between brush holder and communicator 1/8 of an inch plus 1/16 of an inch to 0 inches. zeroed out at 0 inches. Communicator minimum diameter 34 and a quarter inch. Connect width 3/4 of an inch. Mica groove depth 3/64 of an inch to 5/64 of an inch. Mica groove width 31,000 of an inch. Resistance at 25 degrees Celsius. Armature 0.00261 ohms. Armature 1 through 10 00175 ohms. Shunt field SHP positive and negative 79 ohms. Battery field 1.0047 ohms. Starting field 0.0480 ohms. Interpole 00186 ohms. A through B AE 0.018 ohms. Compensating C and D 0.0307 ohms. E through F is 0.03005 ohms. Differential B through C 00115 ohms. F and D 00115 ohms. Total resistance to A and D from generator negative terminal, generator negative brush holder ring connection 00385 ohms. Roller bearing D12 generators, outer diameter bearing bore with internal clearance after clearance. Bearing housing bore end plate clearance after assembly generator. High temperature pure soldering. And then it gives the numbers. And then this completes the reading. This is the second tape and the maintenance instruction for the main generator type D12 432 revision C. Testing.